Could fucking kill you, Oswald.
Nice.
Everybody hear me? All right, well.
Ryan, why don't you, since you're the new guy, why don't you go ahead and start off with us?
Sounds good. Jeff, after such a strange first season, I know, we're all still dealing with COVID in one way or the other, but were you able to have more of a normal off season, and how much growth did you see from the team?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was night and day. I mean, I think we had a lot more sense of normalcy this past summer, and then leading up to our first practice today with the 14 workouts we had this fall. And last year, because of COVID, because of our lack of bodies coming in with 11 scholarship players, Graham being number 11, him not getting cleared until January, Drew Lamont leaving the team in December. I mean, we didn't have a lot of bodies, and so we were not able to go and do a lot of things that you would normally do, especially from a 5-on-5 standpoint, because you had to make sure that you got guys to the game. And for me, in the way that I like to practice, I mean, 5-on-5 is probably 90% of what we do. And so over the 22 practices we had this summer, the reps that we got 5-on-5 really made up for the lost time we had in kind of not, I'd say year one, but it was almost like year zero, because you really couldn't lay the foundation in terms of some of the things that you want to do just because of the circumstances of not being able to play 5-on-5. And so it was really just survival mode. And then this fall, once school started, we had 14 workouts, and I think in those 14 workouts we had almost 1,400 possessions of 5-on-5. And so those are the reps that the real reps that allow, especially a younger team, a team that was probably, I think, the 5th youngest team in the country last year, and probably will be the 5th youngest team or one of the youngest teams in the country again this year, because everybody gets their guys back. And so the growth that we made by just being able to play and do what we would normally do in a regular practice setting, I think will definitely pay off. And it really will pay off on the defensive end of the floor, just in terms of developing the habits, the discipline, the effort that's needed to be a good defensive team. Cody.
Jeff, because of all that you just said, did it surprise you a little bit how good your team played at times last year, and how successful it was compared to the last couple of years before you got here?
Well, I mean, I think in terms of, I was, surprised just how young we were, but I also knew too that I had to schedule accordingly. And so, probably in the non-conference, our schedule was maybe a little soft. Had no idea that Oregon State would go on to, get almost one game away from the Final Four. But also too, I mean, we probably got a little bit of a false sense of reality leading into conference play. And I think, as we all saw, the teams that had more experience definitely was at a huge advantage last year. And also too, when you caught opponents, and there were some teams in our league that caught teams at a really good time when they were coming off of pauses or haven't played games. And so I think this year it'll be a lot different, where it'll be a lot more normal. And I think you're going to see a really balanced league. I mean, I think from top to bottom, I mean, I'm not sure who the best team is. I'm not sure who the worst team is. I just know that probably every team in the league will have the chance to beat one another, which in some cases, a lot of years that's not the case. I mean, even last year, I mean, San Jose State, they struggled, but I think it's going to be a lot different this year, just the overall balance of the league.
Since you brought up scheduling, can you kind of take us through how hard it is to get non-conference teams to come to Laramie? And do you make those calls to big teams and just get laughed at? Or, I mean, how does that work?
Well, I think it's always been an issue at Wyoming. I mean, one, location. It's amazing what 7220 will do to people's minds. And then when you're perceived to be good or going to be good, it's just, you're going to have a hard time finding the teams that the fans want to see come here. Those teams aren't coming here. I mean, you go look at Power 5 teams, you go look at their non-conference schedule, look how many road games they're playing. Not very many. Most of those will be home games where they're buying teams, or they're able to get those neutral site games. And so it's not from a lack of trying. For those people that don't think, hey, come try to do it for a month and you'll see how hard it really is. It's probably the worst thing that we have to do. There's a lot of moving parts in scheduling, just a lot of lies, a lot of just, it's probably more dirtier than recruiting. But I do think that with the schedule that we were able to kind of put together, knowing that I have a more experienced team, in order to prepare yourself for league play. And if you want to be a good team, you got to go play good teams, and you have to go beat good teams. And we as a program, we have to continue to build our reputation, and we have to continue to build as a program. So now you can go play maybe in Arizona on a neutral court, or you can try to get a home and home with the Colorado, knowing that if they win a game like that, it's like a top 100 tier 1 game, as opposed to where, if they lose a game like that, that could be the difference between them not making the NCAA tournament. So that's my job. It's our players' job to continue to build, and to where now you can attract games like that. In the meantime, we got to try to do as good a job we can of getting quality opponents here. And I think we do have that coming in, and going out and trying to play, as good a teams as we can on a neutral court, which we got at the Diamond Head, having Stanford, and then 2 really good teams in that next game with Northern Iowa and Liberty, which the common fan probably wouldn't realize how good those teams are, but both those teams are NCAA tournament teams, and they've been in the NCAA tournament multiple times the last few years. And so we'll continue to try to do it. It's, like I said, it's been really, really hard. And when the winning percentage at this place is about 75% for the home team, it's hard to get teams to bite and come here.
Jeff, you mentioned how young you guys are, but by college basketball standards, Maldonado is an old man. What's the luxury of having a guy that experienced as kind of your leader, and what does he work on to improve at this stage of his career?
Well, it's just in terms of just his everyday, in terms of the maturity that he brings to the program, being a guy that the younger guys can look up to, not just from on the court, but just what he does off the court as well. And I think the thing, asking him this year is that, we're going to ask for him to have the ball in his hands a lot more. Just he'll play the point some, in a lot of ways he played the point last year, just the way we ran the offense through him. Playing more at the 4, but he'll either be at the point or he'll be the point forward, but the ball will be in his hands a bunch, because he's got great vision. He's got the ability to get in the paint, either that off the ball screen or off of the dribble downs. And to have a guy like him and a guy like Graham Ike, who you can get the ball inside to and put pressure on the defense below that free throw line. Not only does it create opportunities for them to score, but it really creates a lot of opportunities for us. And so we've been working on that a bunch here over the course of the summer and fall, of really attacking inside, and also knowing too that both those players are good enough to where they're going to warrant double teams. And so just mixing in different coverages just to get them to used to seeing some different things that are going to come their way.
And Jeff, for all the things that didn't work out well last year, in general, the chance to get Ike out there as much as you did, how big of a break was that for you?
Well, it was one of those deals where it was actually one of the good things about COVID. Probably the only thing is that he actually was able to play and get real reps. Because if not, if COVID doesn't exist and you don't get that free year, we were going to redshirt him. That was the plan all along. And so for him to have the opportunity to come back in the middle of January and to be able to get the amount of games and the amount of minutes and the amount of reps that he got in, it's just going to make him that much better this year. And people, as good as maybe people thought he was last year, they have no idea what they're about to see this year. He was coming off of not doing anything. He basically just showed up as a true freshman, and he's a young freshman. He came here 17 years old. He didn't turn 18 until August. And so to be a guy like that coming off a major injury, and his body's changed dramatically over the course of the last year. He's 6'10" now with shoes on. He's got a 7'5" wingspan, the things that he can do with the ball. And then he did an unbelievable job in terms of just transforming his body. He went from a guy that was 22% body fat to now down to 12% body fat and weighs 245 pounds. And so I think he could end up being one of the best post players in college basketball sooner than later, and just look forward to having him out there and for the fans to see, because he's a guy that you don't see very often in college basketball, with his ability not just to play with his back to the basket, but his ability to be a guy that you can put the ball in his hands on the perimeter and be a guy that can make plays. I mean, he's kind of, I'm not going to say Jokic-like, but he can do a lot of the things that Jokic can in terms of a 5-out setting and trusting him to put the ball on the floor and make good decisions.
Jeff, you guys are obviously replacing Marcus Williams. Is Dang that guy?
It's going to be by committee, but I mean, right now, I mean, you got, early on the reps between, Dang's getting a lot of reps at the 1, Maldo's getting a lot of reps at the 1, and then Noah Reynolds is getting a lot of reps at the 1. And Noah's a player, a freshman, from a body standpoint. Usually that's the biggest, thing that keeps freshmen from playing, is just the physicality. But, he's 6'3", 195 pounds. And he's been really good offensively since he's gotten here. Now he's got a ways to go defensively in terms of understanding the discipline and effort that you need to compete every possession to beat good teams at this level. But he's a kid that wants to be really good. He's really competitive, and he's in the office all the time watching film, trying to get better. And then Dang, he's got just great natural feel. Had a little bit of a setback in the summer. He got hurt kind of on a freak play, and so he missed about 4 weeks, and then did a really good job, which sometimes, especially for junior college players, the transition for him is not as much mental, because he's a really smart kid and he really sees the game at a high level, but just understanding, just what you have to do with your body and how you have to treat your body, and understanding that you can't stay up till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning talking to your friends back in Australia, because that's when it's daytime in Australia. Knowing the importance of sleep, understanding the importance of water. I should talk since I drink a lot of soda, but for them, because I'm not playing, I mean, they got to understand that, what you put in is ultimately what you're going to get out. And I think he realized that, being the smart kid that he is, and he's been really good since we got back, to start school. And he's a guy that, as he gets more comfortable with the system, I mean, he's going to be a guy that, people are going to enjoy watching, because he can really see the floor, and he can really make the game easier for other players. David.
Jeff, from what I've read, Ducell obviously was quarantined, quite a bit at the beginning of the year and really came on strong at the end. Do you feel like he's taken another step and maybe is one of your, one of the better Mountain West guards right now?
Was that you're talking about X? Was that, I missed you there. Yeah, no, X just continues to get better. He's a guy, at this point, at this time last year, I mean, wasn't sure whether or not he could play in a Division I game. And unfortunately for him, he got hit with, never got COVID, but got hit with 52 days of quarantine his first semester. So it took him a little while to get going, but he's a huge security blanket for me. Just, from an offensive standpoint, that's a bonus, and I thought we saw as the season went on, I mean, his ability to make shots and to stretch the defense. And as he got more comfortable, I mean, he's really good with the ball in his hands as well. But defensively, that was probably the biggest surprise, was how well he adjusted. But it also goes back to his ability. He's a really smart kid. I mean, really smart kid who can really process things very, very quickly, and just doesn't make, like Maldo, just makes very few mistakes on the defensive end. And that's why he played at the end of the season. He was playing probably almost 38 to 40 minutes a game. And, to have a guy like him, to have a guy like Maldonado, Ike is really smart defensively. You had Kenny Foster, who, before he got hurt, I mean, I had, multiple coaches in the league after he got hurt were just like, man, I mean, he was playing at such a high level, and it wasn't necessarily just because he was scoring a bunch of points. It was just all the toughness and winning plays that Kenny made. Just giving us that, little bit more just element of toughness. And then he's such a smart player as well. And so I think that's where you're going to see us really make a jump defensively, is that I do think, I mean, we might not be the team that's the most talented team in warmups or walking through the airport, but I do think that we could have one of the more smarter and more intelligent teams in college basketball. And I think, you'll see that, on the defensive end with our ability to kind of do a lot more things than what we probably did last year.
Jeff, you often talk about how Hunter.
Cody, I got my guy David's raised his hand twice. Let me get my guy David in there.
Sorry.
Even though I'd appreciate it if he was related to Steffi Graf, but he's probably not.
I wish I wouldn't be doing this if I was related to Steffi, Coach. I was going to ask about X, but how exciting is it to just have most of the young guys back and to see them develop and go into that second year?
Well, I mean, it's a lot better than the alternative. That's the key in college basketball is cohesion and to keep your players and make sure you keep your good players, knowing what goes on behind the scenes. And now you add name, image, and likeness to it. And now you're really opening up a can of worms. And so, but that's the key. That's when the University of Wyoming's been really good, whether that was under Coach Shiat, when they had, that's when they built it with Nance and Adams and Graybo and those guys as younger players. And, the teams back in the glory days, I mean, those were all 4-year guys. And that's the trick nowadays in college basketball is can you keep your players together as long as possible? Because by the way we do things, and that's why we were so good at Northern Colorado, is just the consistency and keeping the players in the program. And then just the, getting the reps that they get, when you're getting 90 to 125 on 5 reps every day in practice, those guys just naturally get better. And so that's where, as I tell my players all the time, the best ability is availability. And, the more times that you're available on the practice floor, not just them, but all 15 players, that gives us that much better of a chance to be a good team. Cody.
Sorry, David, I couldn't see your hand, man. Coach, you often talk about how Hunter Thompson can be an X factor. What is your challenge to him this year?
The challenge for him is to, he's a guy that you said people want him to be something what he's not, and he's not a back to the basket guy. He's not that, but what he is, and we're going to play him, because Ike, and that's the beauty of Hunter. He's such a team player. I mean, be a guy that's, last year being a 4th-year junior and getting replaced in the starting lineup by Ike, he didn't blink an eye. I mean, he knew that was what was best for the team, and he accepted his role. And he knows that for me, that I want him shooting as many good threes as possible. And we have this summer been working a lot with him playing at the 4, and he's done a really good job. And so this year, I mean, we'll see him playing the 5 and the 4. And I think he's such a better rebounder, which we kind of saw when I played him at the 4 against Utah State. When he had, I think, 11 or 12 rebounds in that game, is that he's such a better rebounder when he's coming in from the perimeter, because he has a really good nose for the ball. And he's a good athlete when he's going north and south. I mean, the biggest problem with Hunter is that once his feet leave the ground, especially both feet, I'm not sure he knows where they're at. And so he kind of gets off balance and doesn't know where he's at. But, from the 4 spot, he's definitely a much better rebounder. So as I tell him, if you want to play more, not just being the backup at the 5, but being a guy that I can play at the 4. I mean, I need you to be a guy that not just makes shots, but he also has a really good feel in terms of getting us into that second or third action. And then can you be a guy that goes and gets us extra possessions by getting 2 or 3 offensive rebounds in a game, and which he's capable of doing. And so he's gotten probably more reps especially in the summertime and even here in the fall, he's probably gotten more reps at the 4 than he has at the 5, but he's also such a dangerous weapon at the 5 with his ability to pick and pop and just create a lot of confusion for the other team trying to figure out how they want to guard him. Ryan.
Jeff, obviously you didn't get the full-throated version of Wyoming, Colorado State with limited fans, but obviously you're a Front Range guy and you know about the rivalry. If they go to the American, what will that mean for your program if you don't have Colorado State to play?
Well, let's just say it. I mean, there's a lot of hearsay, especially in the world of social media. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to really comment on that right now. I mean, there's just too much. I mean, that's not my decision in terms of what they decide to do, nor do I care. If they want to make their way to the American, by all means. But for us, I mean, we'll just worry about where we're at and the the meantime, we'll let them decide what the best place is for them.
That's fair. Let me ask you a little bit about Odin, who seems like a guy who flashed early last year, and then Nilsson, who might have been injured. What have those guys shown, so far through one practice?
Yeah, it's more like 50 practices, but that's, I mean, the college basketball is the worst. I mean, it's a 12-month sport. Odin, he really's taken a big step in the right direction just from his body. And I think that was the biggest thing last year is that, as a true freshman, weighing probably 180 to 185 pounds and getting kind of thrown in, especially early on when EK doesn't become eligible or becomes cleared because of his injury. We're having to play him at the 4 and the 5, and he's just not at this level when you're playing against 5s that are 6'9", 6'10", 240, 50 pounds. I mean, it's just really hard to ask for, and especially having to learn 2 spots. And so early on when things where he was kind of dialed in at the 4, I mean, he had some moments. I mean, the Oregon State game definitely was his the bright spot of the season for him. But he's a guy whose his dad's a big guy. I mean, his dad's 6'10", 6'11", 240, 50 pounds. And so, eventually at some point, his body was going to change. And then come May this year, he finally, the metabolism or whatever happened, slowed down. And, right now, I mean, he's probably about 205 pounds. And that big of a jump, which, I mean, he's from a work ethic standpoint, I mean, he's as good as it gets. And he's always in the gym. He's always in the weight room. He's always doing everything that he can to try to get better. And eventually, I said, finally, his body popped. And so now, where some of those times last year where he'd get, down low and he'd get an angle and that strength would become an issue, where now he's able to kind of, get through the contact and be able to finish a lot better. And so I think you're going to see a really big jump with him this year. And then Owen's a guy that, from a body sense, the poor Owen is that he has to guard Graham every day. And if you don't double Graham, he's going to score on you every single time. And it's unfortunate for him that, he's big enough to where he can kind of take the blows, but at the same time too, it's probably a little bit demoralizing when you're having to play against a guy that has got a chance to be a high level pro one day. But I do think it makes him better. And so sometimes I got to realize with Owen is that he's not going to be guarding Graham EK every night, and he's not going to be having to go against him every day. And so, but it's also made him better. And he's a guy that, in last year before he got hurt, he had some really good moments for us. And the thing about him is he is big. I mean, he is 6'10", 245 pounds and by about 8% body fat. So, I mean, he's, he can really move. Just a matter of him, because he's come onto the game late, just a matter of him getting reps. And he didn't get those 2,000 reps that we got over the course of the summer and fall. He didn't get those last year. And a guy like him, who's behind a little bit in terms of the game, he needs as many reps as possible. So I think he's done a really good job of kind of fighting through having to get beat up by Graham every day, but finding the positives. And he's done a really good job. And he's kind of taken a big step here the last couple of weeks in terms of just processing things. I think that's the biggest thing that he has to figure out is just how to process things, especially in a system where there's a lot of just reading, reacting, and not just necessarily just playing off of set plays. Reynolds.
Hey, don't Coach. Hey, thanks for remembering the last name.
I didn't want to get chastised for calling you Sean.
I appreciate that. Now, you talked about having the bodies available and being able to run practices like you that you weren't able to last year. So I'm just curious, how does the expectation change from the season start last year to going into this year? What are you expecting at the start from your guys?
I mean, I'm expecting us to compete and to go out and do the things that we need to do for every possession from a discipline and effort standpoint that's only developed by practicing at a certain level. And the guys know, just like today, I mean, there's a very high standard that we have. They're going to get coached and held accountable every single possession. And, now when you're actually able to do that playing 5-on-5 and just as opposed to 5-on-0, 3-on-0, I mean, it's just completely different. So my expectations are to, go out and especially, game one, whenever that might be against Detroit, is to go out and just compete as well as we can, knowing that it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be pretty probably early, but as we continue to move on into the season, I think we got a chance to become a pretty good team. Cody.
Jeff, any new guys or youngsters that the fans should keep an eye on to maybe get some minutes early on?
Well, I mean, as I tell our guys, like even today, I mean, they get a pretty good dose of reality in terms of letting them know where they stand. In a 200-minute game, when you take five positions in 40 minutes, I think that equals 200. You start divvying up minutes. Maldo's going to play a lot of minutes. X is going to play a lot of minutes. Graham's going to play a lot of minutes. I mean, now from there, it's their job to make it to where they give me no other choice but to play them. Give me a reason not to take you off the floor. And so I think for us right now, I mean, you got probably 9 or 10 guys that are really competing for those 200 minutes. And really, when you start slicing it down, there's probably more about 100 minutes that they're really fighting for, if not even less. And so that's the beauty of having 15 guys, having to compete every day in practice. And if you don't want to do the right things, unlike last year where, my hands were kind of tied behind my back and I had to maybe kind of look the other way, or knowing that I didn't have anybody else on the bench to where I can maybe, use the bench, which is the best motivator in terms of how we're going to do things. I didn't have that luxury last year. And so this year I have the luxury of, if you want to grab the wall in practice, well, come sit down and somebody else will go in for you. And so I think that's the biggest thing. But I think, Brendan Wenzel's a kid that transferred in at semester from the University of Utah, is really talented. From an offensive standpoint, I mean, he's one of our more talented players, and he can pass, handle, shoot. He's got good size. It's just a matter of him just, really figuring it out, how to make winning plays and how to play with the right, amount of effort, on the defensive end to allow me to play him. And that's the conversation that I have with him every single day. But he's a guy, if he kind of figures it out, I mean, he definitely is going to make us better, because, I mean, he has the ability to shoot it. He's got the ability to play in the pick and roll, and he's a big body. And I think that's the thing with our team this year, is that we might not be we're not going to be the quickest team in the country, but man, we got a lot of length and size. I mean, we don't have very many small guys other than Court, our walk-on. I mean, everybody's pretty much 6'4" or taller. And so we got a lot of length and size. It's going to allow us to be better defensively. But I think Brendan's a guy, if he can figure it out, definitely has a chance to make us better. We talked about Dang, Noah Reynolds from a body standpoint. And then Nate Barnhart, the 7-footer from Kansas City. I mean, he's only 180 pounds right now, being 7 foot tall, but he's a guy that, a couple of years from now, when his body, like J.O., when his body pops, I mean, he's a guy he's got a lot of upside. I mean, he can do things at 7 foot in terms of playing on the perimeter, his hands, his ability to pass it, shoot it. When he gets to being about 200 to 210 pounds, watch out, because he's got a chance to be special good. And then Ben Bowen, who, like Graham, came in as a 17-year-old freshman. His body has a long ways to go as well. But he's a guy that, struggled early on, especially in the summertime, really adjusting to the speed of things and the physicality. But he's got a really high feel for the game, a lot like his dad, who played for the Nuggets and played at Iowa. And, he's a guy that when you actually play 5-on-5, he just knows how to play, and he just finds ways to impact the game. But probably in terms of body wise, I think him and Nate both know that they're probably still a year away from really kind of hitting the floor, but you never know. We got a couple little secret scrimmages, that we'll have a chance to kind of see where things happen. And a lot of times it's not necessarily the guys you think are good now might not be the guys that are good later in the season. I mean, X had probably 1 or 2 DNPs at the start of last year, and then lo and behold, by the end of the season, he's playing 40 minutes a game. So long season, and we'll see what it kind of brings as it goes.
Right. You guys good?
Cody?
Yeah, just one quick one here. I mean, obviously you had to cancel the game in Sheridan. Is that going to affect you guys at all? Is this COVID stuff going to affect you with practice here going forward?
Well, I mean, I think with everybody, I mean, I think it can still affect you. I mean, it's just the reality that we live in right now. And so, unfortunately for us right now, I mean, I was really looking forward to going to Sheridan. I've spent many of days and nights going up to Sheridan Junior College back in the day when Brian Marceau was there, coaching Dante Truitt and Kamar Davis, when Joel Davidson was there, Coach Smiley. Got 2 or 3 players during my time from Sheridan. The fishing's probably a lot better right now in the Bighorns than it is down in these neck of the woods. And so I'm missing out on a lot of opportunities by not going up there. And I really feel bad because, we wanted to make the trip up there. We were excited to go up there. but just right now with the state of where things are at in the program, we can't risk it. And so we'll definitely make our way back up there. Hopefully probably this time next year if the schedule permits. But hopefully we'll get to Cheyenne on next Saturday and be able to, showcase, the guys that we have.
All right, you guys good?
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it, man.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, coach.
Coach.
Sit in.
Yep.